top 5 things to watch next week. And so for this, the first thing I wanted to talk about is this emerging markets currency breakdown. And you put together, you grabbed this Bloomberg chart here, so what's this basket about? Very
So
quickly.
that is the J.P. Morgan submerging foreign exchange index, and I'm not sure exactly what it's got in there, but it shows you kind of a good smorgasbord of the emerging markets.
It's rolling over. It's rolling
Yeah,
over. And the one
I
currency
don't
that
know.
caught my eye by far has to have been the Argentinian peso. And it's broken to fresh new lows. And I mean, this is not chump change. Like since 2008, January 2018, the Argentinian peso is down 61%.
Okay, but what's it down? So here you go. You're like, what is it
What's
done
it
in the
down?
last?
Oh, in the last 1 month, down
Yeah,
20%.
I guess so, but like it's just
Well,
I
I
don't know.
guess 20. You know what? If the Canadian dollar's down 20%, you'd be
Yeah,
shitting
but
your
okay, but
pants, and
we're
suddenly
not
it's the
we're
Argentinian peso, and it means nothing, right?
no, we're not like an emerging market. Although sometimes, based on our politics, it feels that way. But the I okay, pick another one. Show me another one. Let's go
All
through
right,
them.
sure. Okay, let's say the Brazilian real, a real. I mean, it's slowly rolling over. I mean, this isn't fully selling yet, but I mean, it's getting heavy, and that's a very weak price action in the last little bit, right? And
Yeah, no, you're
you
right.
take the South African rand. That I mean, if the rand gives out these lows all along here, that's that's a full on rollover. Then take the Turkish lira. I mean, fine, this has been messy here, but it's the CDSs and all that other crazy shit that's been going on over there. But everything in the Turkish market is starting to get haywire, including their stock market. But I asked the question: is the entire emerging market space starting to show the warning signs that shit's hitting the fan again?
Well, I think the fact that we got it in our top five means that it's pretty
What do you
safe.
mean?
Steer
Nobody's talking about this, dude. We're ahead of the curve here. We're ahead of the curve. We're
You
not
know what the
reporting
trouble
on
is? I
something.
am ultimately a little bit of an emerging market bull, like over the
Oh,
long run.
Jesus.
So
Yeah,
the
over the
fact is,
long run, okay,
yeah.
fine. You know what? I've said this so many times. Over the long run, you could listen. You're just echoing Howard Marks or any of these other guys for sure. The growth prospects and the all of it, the valuations, everything is amazing on emerging markets. But if you think about where the recession is happening real time, where the real stresses in the global market is, it's all in the EM. I'm in the bear EM camp for now. At some point, I'll be completely in the long term bull camp with you. I will definitely, I'm a trader. I'll buy the EM space when it's time. I think the EM's going lower first.
Okay, well there you go. You heard it. I'll give you the bull argument. The Turkish situation was pretty dire. Like it was all over zero hedge, like whatever the 1,600% overnight rate or whatever it was. If that's the worst that's going to happen in that sort of environment, then it's not that bad. And maybe, you know what, it's just kind of one of those idiosyncratic kind of issues that pops up at month end, and we're going to look back a week later and go, what were we so worried about?
All right. Well,
There you
listen,
go.
to me, this currency chart looks like shit, and
Yeah.
it has lots of room to go lower. I'm bearish.
Okay, that sounds well. There you go.
So, second, let's talk about this Lyft IPO. Is this a
Okay.
boom or bust?
There you go again. It has to be one or the other.
No, okay, it doesn't have to be one or the other. What's your thinking? I just had to do that for. Listen, we're in the entertainment business, so we have to entertain.
Um, I thought it was interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit about this with Kieran in the after show, but I thought it was interesting that many people have talked about the fact that the private valuations are extended to the point where when it finally comes public that it can't actually achieve a level that is supported by the private valuations earlier. Yet, I'm pretty sure that Lyft never traded as high as it did today and in the public markets. So I'm not so sure that this is some sort of sign that things are bad. And I kind of look at this and say, yeah, this is the signs of a frothy market, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to end tomorrow.
So when Facebook IPO'd, let me just go back over here. When Facebook IPO'd, it hit $45. So the first day of selling dropped down to about $38. 2 weeks later, it was down to 27, and then 3 months later, it was down to 18. Right, like
I know.
you're talking
Isn't that
60
amazing?
plus percent wipeout, and then that was one of the most epic buying opportunities on Facebook. The point is, forget whether Lyft is going to be an amazing opportunity or not, but could we see a deja vu of Facebook's IPO?
So you think it's going to get halved or even
I
like
no,
more?
no. I'm asking. I don't know. To be honest, this is
you know,
this
I'm
is
kind
not
of
my
I'm more
forte.
bullish than you are. If anybody's going to say it's going to get halved, it's you. I don't
No.
think that's the case.
Look,
and not only that, Uber's still ahead of us, man. Like if this was the case, this is just Lyft trying to get out ahead of the real like big one, which is Uber. Uber's like the big gorilla versus a Lyft.
Okay, but
And-
I'm sorry, but Facebook doing this, that I think Facebook was a pretty big kahuna back then.
Oh yeah,
right?
no, I agree. But I'm saying Facebook was more the Uber than it was the Lyft. That's kind of my argument.
Right. So when do you know when Uber comes out?
I think I'm not sure. I don't know. I think it's to some extent it's market determinant, right? Like there's no real like specific time. You know, did they file their S1 or whatever it was? Like I think.
Are you a buyer or a seller at this price on Lyft?
Well, listen. IPOs in general are not good things to buy. Like I saw some
I agree.
study by some quant that over the long run IPOs
It's a
underperform
bad
the
idea.
market. You know, all the time. Interestingly enough, why don't you pull up a chart? There's an ETF on this. Of course there is, because there's an ETF on everything, and
the
it's
symbol?
IPO, and I was shocked at this is kind of just the most recent IPOs, and they'll hold it for a year or two. I can't remember the exact number, but these things have just flown. Like it's crazy. Like what is that return from the lows in December? Like can you dial it for me? Like what is that?
Yeah. So since December, it's up wow, 47%.
Like
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts, right? Like,
Okay, but at the same time, I mean, it did wipe out 30%.
yeah,
During the December pullback.
yeah. So these are volatile.
But that's still crazy
stocks.
numbers, dude. This is like the market on steroids.
For sure, and it's one of those things that it's kind of it's something you should watch as the canary in the coal mine and stuff. And it's interesting. I think you should dial this and keep this on your radar, this IPO ETF, because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I agree. So number 3, palladium.
Oh, so palladium is a metal dear to my heart. I've watched it for a long time. I've written a couple posts about it. The market went in kind of
What the hell happened here? Does that limit down shit?
I don't know, man. It's crazy. But more important than the recent decline, do your magic in terms of figuring out what that move off the lows in September was.
Oh yeah, no. And what's amazing is it made this rise without any of the other precious metals running, right?
Yeah.
93%.
So it doubled almost, right? Like that's,
yeah, in 217 days. So like
it was the greatest bull market that we had out there. So everybody's like freaking out now because it's declined in 2 days. It's went down whatever that number is.
Well, in the last week, it's down like 16%.
Yeah, that's not that bad. Like, listen, that's
from
what
1,600 to 1,400. But it's
that's
just,
what
I
happens
guess,
in bull markets. In big bull markets, you get the
sure,
biggest corrections, right?
Yeah. Too bad there wasn't really a good liquid options market for
Well,
this.
listen, you can trade. There is an ETF based upon this, but
No, but
okay.
there's not a good liquid options market for it.
Okay, when you're trading your 1,000 lots, you're having trouble getting filled.
Oh, I can't get any fills.
You can't get any fills on it. But I will tell you one thing that's interesting. I recently read kind of a research report on platinum. Because don't forget, one of the reasons that palladium ran and platinum didn't is this whole Dieselgate. When we think back to the fact that palladium and platinum are both used in catalytic converters, which is, I guess you might argue that they're both should be going down because of the reality is that we're using less and less kind of fossil fuel cars, but it definitely hurt platinum when Dieselgate, when the Volkswagen had all their troubles with their diesel cars, and platinum is used more in creating catalytic converters for diesels, whereas palladium is used more on a traditional gas engine. But the thing about it is that they are somewhat substitutable. Yet the thing about it is that it takes a while for the car companies, to retool their factories and make these things differently. So it's not something they do the moment that platinum is, $100 cheaper than palladium. And I contend that there is a chance that we finally have hit a point where, hey, platinum is half of palladium. It's time to go about and change
fade it the other way.
Yeah. And it's
Really?
kind of scary. Well, at the very least,
are you doing one of your fancy pair trades?
No. So at the very least,
go
this
long platinum against the short palladium.
No, so I haven't done that. One of my fancy trades, but I will tell you this: I am watching platinum for a cheap, something to buy, because platinum is not moved up with palladium, and maybe it just solves itself by platinum grinding back higher.
But platinum has really moved in line with silver for some reason. Like when you look at the platinum chart and the silver chart, they don't look that far different.
No, you're right there.
Right?
Silver is sagging and not doing that well.
They seem to have like this kind of the precious metals that are in the doghouse kind of look to them.
Yeah. Well, anyways, there's smarter guys.
It's worth watching. So, do you think this pullback marks a major top?
Oh, geez.
Yes or no? Come on. Just stick your neck out for once.
Okay. Yes, it's the top.
Okay. You heard it from Kevin Muir. I have no opinion.
Okay, here we go. Right. I kind of alluded to this earlier. I'm going to take this one, Patrick.
All right.
I was shocked that I didn't realize what the trade of the year was.
There was a trade of the year?
Yeah.
I thought it was short Tesla.
No. The trade of the year, according to Dennis Gartman, I think I said that wrong. Dennis Gartman, the kind of famed commodity guru, is long gold in euros. What does that mean? It basically means you buy gold and you short euros against it.
So here's your gold euro trade, trading at 1,152 euros an ounce.
So I think you're a big euro bear. You must be kind of upset that the famed...
No, this makes sense to me, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Because the more that's the base currency, so the more it goes down, the higher gold goes.
No, I get it, but Dennis has got kind of a reputation as being the ultimate.
Well, I mean, it makes me nervous when Dennis is on my team.
Having said that, he became the butt of a lot of jokes of zero hedge and stuff, and then he actually started to get some calls right.
Yeah.
Just when you thought that
it
was for sure
the
the
zero
best
hedge
money.
Guys were confused. It's like you got all the algos all messed up.
That's right. When the algos finally figured out that was a way to make money, it went the other way.
Yeah,
just to mess up all the algos.
But it's kind of Dennis is making the call after this trade has already moved almost 20%. I mean, it's 17% off of was at its peak, so you have a trend that's been in place for 3-4 months that is 20% off, and then now he's making the call. Look, I'm long-term bullish gold. I think you may be too. Maybe just double check.
Yeah, no, I think for sure.
So I'm long-term bullish, but so let me look at gold against the CAD, right? So you look at gold priced in Canadian dollars, doesn't look that much different. This rise in gold here against the Canadian dollar has been about 17%, about the same percentage. You take the gold against the Aussie, right?
I think that's even better. I think that one's hitting new
that's
highs.
a cleaner looking chart. I mean, it's pretty much at major highs.
Yeah.
And that one off of that low. Yeah, about 17% in the last push since the summer. So you know what I mean? Like, really, in my mind, it's a derivative of the fact that you expect that the U.S. dollar will work, but it's the fact that gold will do better than all of these cross currencies weakening, right?
Yeah, and he's
And
also arguing that
it's your
he
pair
thinks,
trade. It's this is the way you this is your territory. Isn't
yeah,
it? This
it's
way you want
fancy.
to
I get it.
play
It's
your
fancy.
yeah, it's,
I think he's arguing that China, I mean, not China, that Europe's going to get themselves into a lot of trouble. And that when you think about it, they're going to be forced to stimulate and do all sorts of monetary madness. And therefore, if you're a European and you're looking at somewhere to hide.
but why is that just not being short the euro against the USD? Like, I mean,
Well, I think it's just
that's what would accelerate this gold trade higher.
Yeah, no, it's
all
the same
correlated.
trade, right? Like it's the
It's the
same
same
thing.
trade. It's the
So,
same trade.
anyways, there you go.
But you know what? Dennis Gartman wants to be on the record for making it fancy, and he gets the award for making it fancy.
Well, and it's the trade of the year. That's the important thing. I'm
but you know
much
what?
too much of a
Hence
coward
why,
to call anything the trade
hence
of the
why
year.
we have been on this show talking about that euro level for how many weeks in a row? To the point that
God.
Ryan had to pine in and say,
It's like 9 years. I think we've been talking about the potential breakdown in the euro and the rally in the dollar. One of these days it'll actually happen, and I'll be so sick of it I won't want to talk about it. Okay, number one. Let's go have a look.
number one. Now, we know that Karen's going to pine in on Tesla. We're going to get into this with him in just a moment. But Tesla is at a very critical level, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we are I personally feel that 250 is the line in the sand. Because if the bulls are going to hold the line and keep this stock in any remotely bullish trend, they're going to hold the line at 250.
Yeah.
I
You know what
think
the interesting
under
thing is
250
as well, not only do they have to hold it from a technical basis, but I believe that good old Elon has all sorts of margin calls right below there.
Yeah, something like 230 I heard or something.
Yeah, I think it is.
Am I right on the number? But anyway, I don't know the exact number. I'm making shit up now. But it was it was definitely somewhere under there that there are margin call risks, and so you have to believe that they're gonna do like to me. I'm actually giving the bulls the benefit of the doubt that they're gonna hold the line here, because to be honest, any price action below here is in my mind the beginning of the end, and I don't think they're gonna let it go that easily.
Okay, so I just looked it up. For according to that source that you love to quote, Zero Hedge, it's basically just it's as good as Wikipedia. $232.
232.
So it must be right if it's in Zero Hedge.
It must be right. So the bottom line is that I listen. I honestly, look. I'm bearish. I'm bearish Tesla. I think it's going lower, but you have to believe the bulls will at least do a valiant attempt to hold the line here. If you read this tape and the bulls can't even muster up a counterattack off the support and try to drive the price back north of 300, Tesla's done. The way I look at it, in the next couple weeks, I believe that Tesla will be north of 300 because I think the bulls are going to give it a shot. But I'll tell you, if we're 2, 3, 4 weeks here and we're under 300 consistently, then Tesla is fucked.
So there you go, you guys. It's a typical
That's my
technical analysis.
Well, look,
if it goes
but
higher, it goes
honestly,
higher,
the bulls,
and I'll buy it. And if it goes short,
no,
lower,
I'm not
I'll
buying it on the higher. I'm just saying that the bulls got to get it off of this low, right? Like if they're gonna defend it, they have to try to reverse it off of here. I mean, that's the only way to keep this thing alive.
Yeah, no, I will say one thing, that if it breaks that level, and I'm the first one to kind fade a break in a level, saying it's not that big a deal. But I think in this case, if it breaks that level, it's gonna run like it stole something. Like it's just gonna go 320, and before you know it, it'll be 250. That is the prediction I'll give you, and that is unfortunately very like kind of typical of technical analysis. They'll say, if it goes lower, it'll break and it'll keep going. But I think in this case, it's not the kind of stock to be cued on.
Are you making fun of technical analysis?
No, never.
No?
No.
Because I can't help but to feel you're doing that.
No.
All right.
But anyways, so if it goes lower and breaks, I think that this is one of those that you can jump
stop
on.
For a second. Stop for a second. So let's clarify. So I'm going to draw a chart here. Let me just quickly type a few things in here. So this is Kevin Muir style technical analysis right here. Okay, here, perfect, right here. Okay, so down here, Kevin is bearish on the market, and Patrick is bullish. Then up here, Kevin is bullish and Patrick is bearish. So
that is
what
awesome.
exactly in technical analysis am I getting wrong here?
No, that is actually very good. That is very good analysis. I like that.
Right?
Was I bearish that quickly? Like, was I actually bearish that quickly? I might have been, actually.
You were saying that was going to last no more than a couple weeks.
Yeah, no, so I'll tell you.
So
I should listen. I should have listened to you more. I kept thinking that Powell was not going to.
All I'm saying is you're shitting on technical analysis a little too much.
Yeah, no, listen. And touche, that's what you got to keep my feet to the fire. You got to keep me honest. I like it.
But it's funny. It's funny. Yeah. There's this one guy. I have to. We never read the YouTube comments, but I'm gonna validate one because on Macro Voices, there's this one guy. Whenever Eric talks about some technical levels, there's one guy on the YouTube down in the comments that always, every single podcast that gets released on YouTube has to come in there and say technical analysis, blah, 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 blah. And he just like barfs all over technical analysis. And he does it every week. All listeners go look it up and find out who this guy is. But he comes every week relentlessly, just in case we didn't hear him the week before, that he has to come on there and shit on it. So I think it's really funny.
Well, that could be, and I appreciate you keeping me honest, and I won't deny that in the least that Powell threw me for a loop. I completely expected him to continue trying to keep the markets down, and he got me.
Kev, if the market makes a higher high here, are you going to be bullish?
Well, I've already told you that I think. I think that there's a chance that we go a lot higher. Right.
And if it does make a higher high, are you more bullish or less bullish?
No. Okay. So listen, I gotta tell. Okay, you know what? If we're throwing rocks and or throwing stones, I gotta tell one thing to our listeners. You phoned me up this week to basically rub salt in my wounds, right? And you were because I had gotten somewhat bullish. And I must say, your timing was impeccable.
Okay.
Pull up the chart of the S&P over the last week.
All right, hold on. So last week, what do you want? Like, here, I'll put a 4-hour chart up. Yeah. All right, here.
Okay, let me see it.
So where do you want me to mark off? When was our phone call?
It was, I can't remember exactly, but it was literally one of those lows. It was either, and I was like laughing. It was that one, or I think it was actually the other one. Because I think it was the next, it was there. And you phoned me up, and I was like, oh, geez, you know what? He's right. I'm like off like 8. I remember thinking to myself, it's like 40 or how many handles is it off the highs on the S&P there?
Off of the highs? Let's see. I mean, we're talking, it's like a couple percent off. It was almost 80 points off the high.
Yeah, so it was 80 points off the highs, and I was thinking, you know what, he's right. I'm like, not that I bought the highs because I think I was a day or two early, but anyways, I was thinking it's 80 handles off the highs. Maybe he's right. And just as I was doubting myself from your little chirping in my ear, I saw the market make a bottom, and I was like, oh, good. There you go. The market gods were listening to him. He tried to kind of shame me, and the market gods knew, and they came around to fix that problem.
All right, so enough public flogging. We're gonna have to continue this over a couple beers when we meet up this evening
That's right.
with a bunch of our listeners at our first kind of
Huddle
gathering.
meetup. That's right.
Our
Huddle.
first Market Huddle meetup. So I'm dying. Like by the time anyone's listening to this, it would have already happened because we're not editing this and launching until Saturday. But we're looking forward to it. We're going to continue this shitting on each other stuff over
That's
a couple
right.
more beers, right?
And unfortunately, I think there's going to be a lot of your members there, and I think that they've been programmed by you to think that I'm wrong. Anyways, let's go on. Let's